Okay, thank you, everybody. Welcome, Lloyd. Welcome, Lisa. Welcome, Priyanka. Thank you for coming. Come on in. Find a seat. If you are, especially if you're a new senator or an alternate senator, make sure you get one of these handouts, and I'm going to put them by the back and then share it. Maybe have Douglas do that on that chair so people can get to them. We'll use those later. I am now returning to the agenda. That was a rearrangement. Bravo. You boldly and bravely met somebody else. And this is a big advantage, or a part of the advantage of showing up in person when you're able to, which is hopefully all the time. Because a lot, and I don't, if you've been in Zoom meetings, you know this, right? When you do things on Zoom, you miss out on all the small talk. And the small talk is where a lot of good things happen. So, back to the agenda. The first thing on the agenda is I'm going to give you a Senate 101. This is for new senators, new alternate senators, but also returning senators to remind you of what you're here for. Simply, I have not prepared a PowerPoint because I have 3 points. Your responsibility as a senator or an alternate senator, first and most important, is to show up, come to meetings. Okay? Your attendance matters. If you are well, I'll tell you, your attendance matters because without quorum, we can conduct no business. Is that going to be your speech? Yeah. I won't take too much from it then. Quorum, I believe, our total number of senators were up to 40. And quorum is a majority. We were at 39 before. Now we're at 40, which means quorum is going to be 20. I'm saying that because I'm not. Wait, is it 21? Oh. No, I was hoping to make it 20 to make it a little easier for us, but no, I'm being corrected. You can tell the voice over here is our parliamentarian who will explain her role later in the presentation, who minds our protocol, our meeting protocol. So you need to, if 21 senators don't show up, we can't conduct business. Okay? So this is why attendance is important. Yes, Maria.
There's a caveat to that.
Yes.
If you are the alternate senator and the senator shows up, it still counts as one person from your department showing up.
Yes.
Because only one person can vote.
So it means 21 voting members need to show up for us to be able to conduct business. However, let me say this regarding attendance to all the alternate senators in the room. If you are an alternate senator for students, I am urging you to come to every Senate meeting with as much priority as you would if you were a senator, because I guarantee you, well, there should be now 11 student senators. If not all 11 show up, then we need an alternate senator or 2 or 3 who will be full voting members. Okay, so the senator is the one that counts, but if the senator is absent, if there's a senator missing for an at-large seat, the alternate takes the role of the senator. So your attendance is your #1 priority for Senate. Whether you, if you are an alternate for a senator in a division or a department where it's just the 2 of you, 1 senator and 1 alternate for that area, you can discuss with each other. You both don't have to come because 1 will be there if the other one's not, but you should be in discussion with each other. The job for the role of voting and attendance. The third role that I haven't talked about yet applies to everyone, whether you're an alternate or a senator. If you are an at-large, if you're an at-large alternate senator, at-large meaning all the students still plan to come to Senate, because it's almost guaranteed that not all 11 senators will show up, and anyone who is absent, an alternate will take their place. So that's number one, is attending. Related, yeah, number two, oh, by the way, that attendance, by state law, it needs to be in person. Right? You can still listen in if you're on Zoom, but you don't count for our attendance. You don't count towards quorum if you're on Zoom and not in person. So Zoom is a great way to still be engaged in what's going on at Senate, but it's not the same as being in person. It does not count for quorum. Got it? Priority number one. Priority number two, voting. Right? Your responsibility as a senator is to prepare to vote in a Senate meeting. And what you prepare for is reading the materials that come out ahead of a Senate meeting, so you know what's there. Read the agenda, and there will be materials that will come out. We'll talk more about the curriculum. That sounds so scary. We'll talk more about curriculum. We'll talk more. There will be motions and other issues, material that will come to Senate for approval. Read it ahead of time. With curriculum specifically, you need to send questions in advance. At least I believe it's 72 hours in advance to myself and to our curriculum committee chair, who's going to talk briefly about the curriculum committee in a few minutes, hopefully. But read the materials, let us know what questions you have, and then come ready to vote. The senator votes. If the senator and the alternate are both present, the alternate does not vote. Okay? You don't have a vote then. But again, for at-large senators, there are 11 student Senate seats. If there's 12 student senators present, there'd be one alternate. That alternate would not vote, but it's very often that there's a student senator or two or three absent. And so up to 11 of them will vote, will have a vote that day. So that's your second area of responsibility. If you are a senator for a division or department and you have an alternate who is with you in that role, and you know you're not able to be at a meeting, talk with your alternate, make sure they can show up, and talk about how you will vote, what your understanding of the issues are. You don't necessarily have to agree, but I mean, you can consult about that. The last thing I'll say about voting is starting with our first official Senate meeting. Do you know when it is? It's the 23rd. I thank you, Patricia. I was testing all of you. The 23rd, 2 weeks from today, is our first official Senate meeting. And if the alternate senator is in person, which helps us make quorum, and the senator is on Zoom listening in, we are going to try out a new practice here of letting the alternate will get the priority for voting. So the person in person will have the priority for voting. This is a matter that we will discuss at a later Senate meeting for feedback. Are you a senator? Come on in.
I'm sorry, I was in the class.
Oh, no, oh yeah, you emailed. Tell me your name.
Jeff.
Jeff, thank you. I'm glad you're here. And someone might have that seat.
It's okay. No worries.
Oh, is it all right? Okay. Welcome. So the senator or alternate who is in person will have the priority for voting over whoever's on Zoom. There is no state policy around this. I just made an impromptu decision when we started doing the high flex meeting in both modes to let the senator on Zoom vote, even if the alternate in person was here to give us quorum. We're going to reverse that decision. And at some point in the next couple of months, we'll talk about it together as a Senate, see if we want to change it. I know for the University Faculty Senate of CUNY, whoever is on Zoom can't vote at all, right? The Zoom attendees are just observers. It's only in-person voting. We're going to moderate that a little bit for now. But it means if you know you can't, if you're a senator, you know you can't be present, but you can join on Zoom, then you need to talk to your alternate who will need to show up so we can get quorum, and then that alternate would have the vote that day. So responsibility number one, show up. Responsibility number two, be ready to vote on any issues that are coming to the Senate. You'll know it from the agenda and from the material sent ahead of time. Responsibility number 3 is the same, whether you're an alternate or a senator, and it is to communicate. That's your third and maybe most important responsibility as a senator, that you communicate what you hear from your constituents. If you are an at-large senator, you have to work to try to figure out how to hear from your constituents. If you're a student, talk to the students in your classes. We'll try to, you can, as a group of students, well, we'll talk about that in a moment. You'll become a committee of students. You can come up with ways to try to get feedback from students about what issues they want, they need to have addressed. The same goes for all of you. Be listening to your constituents. And if something comes up that you think Senate should look into, you contact me. I talk about it with the executive committee of the Senate. We try to put it on the Senate agenda. We try to figure out how to address it. So that's listening, where you, the listening side of communication. The other side of communication in your responsibility as a senator is to communicate back to your constituents about the work of Senate, what's happened at Senate. Again, for student senators who are, representing a huge group, that's harder. If you represent a department or a division, your job is to communicate with your department or division what's going on at Senate. Okay, it's a key part of the role. It doesn't matter if you're an alternate. It doesn't matter if you're a senator. We all can take part in this. We're a key focus of communication for the Senate. All right. That is my Senate 101 introduction. One more thing. I've given you a handout, right? This is copied from the LaGuardia Community College Governance Plan, and it is a list of Senate responsibilities. These are the things that Senate, by our governance plan, is authorized to do. And I am not going to talk through all of them, but I want you to have this, read it over. It's like, this is our, what's that word? Our syllabus? Yeah, it's for our brief. This is our brief. These are our instructions. Are there any senators who want to point out any that you think are especially important? Any experienced senators here? Do you want to draw our attention to? I'm not going to go through all of them because that would be too dull. Do you see the importance of it? See that first one? Right? Establish and protect the academic standards of the college. Pretty significant, right? All of them are. Yes, Patricia, go for it. Oh, what was that?
Old policies, dealing with instruction, with the academic calendar and with faculty and student welfare and development consistent with academic freedom and professional standards.
That's a lot, right? Follow all those pieces in D. So the Senate is the body that determines and approves of policies at the college related to almost everything. Okay. Thank you for stepping up and deciding to join Senate. You now have great power. Maybe all of us together, right? Great responsibility, yeah. So I urge you to take this home, find a prominent place, put it up, remind yourself of what is the Senate's purview. Maria has a question, but I'm not going to ask you. I know, yeah, so, because this lays out what the Senate is responsible for. The last one there, one thing, L, this is not the revised, this is the current governance plan. L, inform itself on the college's programs and operations, right? That's like everything. So that means we have the right and responsibility to know what's going on here. Okay. It's not on the agenda, but later today in our meeting, President Adams is stopping by when he is finished with his today is the CUNY Council of Presidents meeting. When he's done there, he's gonna stick his head in here, greet you all. But Senate can ask any administrator at the college to come and give us a presentation about anything we want to know about, right? So this is our responsibility. So I want you to keep this, and reference it to remind yourself of what your job is as a senator, what you have the right and responsibility to know about and to do. The next item on the, was there any questions or comments on that? On the Senate 101? And then the work of the Senate, I'm moving on to, item 3 on the agenda. The work of the Senate is mostly done by its committees. And so we want to briefly introduce you to the committees of the Senate. If you, you won't be able to see it here very well, but, hold on. I am, going to share yeah, this is the Senate website, on the LaGuardia website. And for your information, here is a list of all of the Senate committees, and who their chairs are needs to be updated. It will be updated soon. It's almost accurate. So you know that this is here. Most of these committees in there have a drop-down menu with a description of the committee. If you want to reference this more, go to the Senate website, look at this to get an overview of what the committees of the Senate are. I have asked the committee chairs who are able to be here today to briefly introduce their committees, but I'm going to go first, and then I'll turn it to them to introduce the Executive Committee of the Senate. The Executive Committee of the Senate is the one that consists of the chair of Senate. Currently, that's me, who also is the chair of the committee, the vice chair of Senate, the secretary of Senate, 2 at-large senators, and 2 student senators. So those are who the Senate executive. And the parliamentarian is a non-voting member of that. This is the executive committee. Next Senate meeting, we will elect those members to the executive committee. Okay? I'll say a tiny word about each role. To be chair of the Senate, you need to have been senator for at least a year. The vice chair of Senate currently is a supporting role, but their key part of the vice chair's role, we're going to expand the role. Well, that's too complicated. The key part of the vice chair's role is if the chair is absent for any reason, the vice chair leads the Senate meeting and generally supports the Senate chair and works with the executive committee. The secretary of Senate takes minutes of meetings, keeps attendance and all records, and sends out the emails you get, the invitations to Senate. In a new development, because the Secretary of Senate is a pretty time-consuming job to keep all those records, President Adams' office has agreed to give 3 hours of release time for a faculty member who is going to take on, who's elected as Senate Secretary. That's not happened at LaGuardia before. I get 6 hours of release time as Senate Chair for the whole year. The Senate Secretary will get 3. All right. Yes, Luke?
What if staff members elected as a secretary?
It is problematic. I know. And I will admit that
Staff member?
no, it is, there is not because and students, you will discover this, the nature of work for staff at the college versus the faculty at the college is different enough that there's not a way to make that equivalent that I figured out. So if a staff member takes on the role of senator, the staff member needs to work it out with their supervisor to have the time to do the secretary's role. With a faculty member, the 3 hours release time means the faculty member would teach 1 less class during the academic year, and an adjunct faculty would take on that class. Yeah, so currently it is easier to make room for a faculty member to take on that role than it is to make room for a staff member to take on that role. And if you have any brilliant ideas,
What would be
yes,
That's the problem for staff for everything.
Yep.
Where
Yeah.
faculty get compensated, staff don't. And then it's not that they're expected to do less work, so it's something to think about.
It is something to think, and it is a problem. And so if you are a student, by the way, so there's, oh, I don't know the numbers of, there's more staff at the college than there are faculty at the college, right? I mean, more people working who don't teach in classrooms. The nature of the jobs are different. Is that not this?
Yeah.
Thomas,
No, going on that note, but faculty getting the 3 hours of the release time, right? Does that come with a stipulation that you do not do overload? Because faculty tend to get release time and still do overload. So if it's supposed to release you from that extra burden of doing more work, then is there a stipulation that says you get this 3 hours of release time, but then you cannot do certain amount of overload because you're getting this compensation to release you, but we have a tendency to do the release time work plus overload in addition.
no idea. I have no idea. That is an interesting and difficult, and I don't know. We'll work that out. So again, students, you don't know anything about all these things. There's things that we need to think about. If this was just a student body, we would just talk about student stuff. But because this body is faculty and staff, we talk about the concerns that staff at the college have. We talk about concerns that faculty at the college have, and it gets a little in the weeds. But we also talk about concerns that students of the college have, and it's a great virtue of LaGuardia's Senate that brings all of us together in the same room to help build our understanding of the situations that all of us find ourselves in, and to try to address those concerns. So, great question. I don't know. We can look into it or pursue it, or you can help pursue it. All right. Back to the executive committee. On the 23rd, we will need to elect 2 students to serve on the executive committee. The last thing about the executive committee, actually, we meet serving on the executive committee, great opportunity, great leadership opportunity. It's one extra meeting for every Senate meeting. So the primary purpose of the executive committee is to plan the Senate meeting, puts together the agenda of the Senate meeting. We meet usually Monday afternoons at 3:30 on Zoom the week before the Senate meeting. So it meets usually 9 days before the Senate meeting, where we work together, hour and a half, usually on Zoom, to plan the Senate meeting. It's a way to bring issues that you've heard about, that concerns that you have, and we discuss how to approach it with Senate. The executive committee can also make some decisions and vote on some issues. We did vote, to let you know if you were at the last Senate meeting, we did in fact vote to approve Odin Wright as the adjunct senator for, the alternate senator for adjunct faculty. There we go. So we can take action like that. But next Senate meeting, we will elect 2 student members of the executive committee. We will elect 2 non-student at-large members of the executive committee, and a secretary and a chair and a vice chair. So you know that's happening. Any questions about the executive committee? It's important. And it's a great opportunity to be involved. All right. I am going to move, while Priyanka's here, I want to move to the curriculum committee, which does an essential work for the college that comes to Senate, leading Senate to one of Senate's essential roles. Priyanka, do you want to talk about the curriculum committee?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the curriculum committee basically oversees revisions of courses, development of new courses, changes in programs, new programs, new options. And early, so the fall semester tends to be the busiest, because we have some deadlines to meet, because things most of the time have to go through community board of governance meetings, and when there's approval from there, then things come back to college and are actually implemented by the commission. So there's a bit of a crunch time in the fall semester, but things ease off in spring. If you have, so we are a subcommittee of the Senate, which means that stuff that are approved at the curriculum committee come to the Senate for your vote. If you have questions about any item, just reach out to me and Christine. And we'll be happy to, answer your questions. Occasionally it happens that someone didn't understand why something was done. And I understand, people, when you're not sure about something, the natural inclination is to vote like against it or abstain. That's a shame because, we could have answered the questions you had. Okay, so if you have any questions about curriculum, I can just reach out. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. The curriculum committee does not need more members because its members are restricted. There is a faculty member from each department serves on the curriculum committee, and there's a few other entities there. It is not a committee that seeks new members, but it is a committee that sends important business to the Senate regularly, okay, that we then need to approve. So,
Right,
yes.
that the new department
uh,
will need we need to have a representative.
And for those of you new to the Senate, last spring, the Senate created a new department. It's the Department of Community Health. Miguel is a member of that department, Community Health and Wellness, and so they need a member for the curriculum committee, which I think the chair knows, and hopefully they'll work on that. Okay, thank you, Priyanka. The Committee on Committees has no chair. Did you know there's a committee called the Committee on Committees? It has no chair to introduce it. The function of the Committee on Committees is to make sure that all the committees of the Senate are fully staffed, that they have all the people they need. At our next Senate meeting, if we have time, we will elect members to the Committee on Committees. It requires 7 members, at least 2 of whom are students. It's another opportunity for students to get involved. And then you will elect a chair from among those. The committee itself elects its own chair. Again, meetings may be monthly, but to help in the job of recruiting members for the other Senate committees. The Academic Standing Committee. Katrina, would you like to talk about the Academic Standing Committee?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Katerina Almadraw, and I'm the current chair of the Academic Standing Committee. The committee serves to create academic policy, to review academic policy, and to revise academic policy. So our committee members come, they bring the feedback of their departments, and we address some of the things that come up. So we can consider what direction to take with the policy that exists and or policy that needs to be created or revised.
Yep, and you have one student member who, according to our governance plan, is to be the student government, the SGA president or their designee. So a student is present in discussion or should be present in discussions of academic policy. Can you give us an example of the kind of policies that you deal with?
Sure. Academic integrity will be a big one coming up to kind of think about what that will look like and where that will go considering AI, et cetera. That's one that's going to come down the pipeline. The attendance policy was a big one across departments. So many may have heard from me kind of just reaching out to our representatives, looking for kind of departmental attendance policies, and we post them on the website. Changes to requirements for visiting and non-degree students. So correct me if I get the policy wrong. We updated that to those prerequisites are required. That was a revision to a policy that existed based on feedback from different LaGuardia community members.
Yeah, so if you ever look in the college catalog, if it's in the college catalog, it comes through the Senate, either in terms of curriculum or policies, academic policies. So, thank you, Katrina. Committee on Campus Affairs, we are missing both their chairs, their co-chairs. But let me say the Committee on Campus Affairs is really important. Are you senator?
Yeah.
This is Senate. Okay. Committee on Campus Affairs deals with the campus facilities and policies regarding the campus community. That's campus academic standing is academic policies, campus affairs is college community policies. And it's a really important committee too, which I believe needs some members. I don't know that it has any student members. Student members would be welcome. right? There's no definition or restriction on members of that committee. They are doing some important work and are going to be meeting monthly, I believe. Committee of faculty, the committee of staff and alumni, and the committee of students. Next on my list is committee of faculty. Each, if you are a staff member at the college, not a faculty member, you are part of the committee of staff and alumni. If you are a student at the college, you are part of the Senate's Committee of Students. If you're a faculty member, you're part of the Senate's Committee on Faculty. Today, towards the end of our meeting, we'll ask you to break into those groups and have your first constituency meeting. So the Committee of Students will meet. Each of those, that is where a lot of the important conversation happens for Senate, where faculty talk about faculty concerns, staff and alumni talk about staff concerns, and students talk about students' concerns. Each of those committees should elect a chair, right? So there needs to be a chair of the committee of students. There is now the committee of faculty has a vacancy for chair. We need to, I'm hoping that we can elect a chair today. It would be ideal. Although I don't know if we're having an official meeting today. So towards the end of the meeting today, and this is why we did the meet and greet earlier, I'm going to ask you to get into your constituency group and have a conversation together, meet each other. If you can elect a chair, we could also do that at the next meeting. Often those meetings happen after the Senate meeting, but not always. You can also set up your own time to meet, but it's a very important opportunity to talk about concerns for your constituency. Each of those committees also should put together their wish list for the year, a list of projects that you would like or concerns, issues that you want to consider taking on or trying to address. Committee of students in the past at the college are the reason that you can log into the LaGuardia Wi-Fi on your phone and on your laptop at the same time. That for many years you couldn't, and student senators kept raising that issue and eventually got attention to it, so it got resolved, right? So the system was improved. So that's an example of a very real impact that the committee of students had. So committee on professional development. Derek is here.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. The Committee on Professional Development is responsible for developing programs which promote the professional growth and development of all faculty and staff members at the college. Membership of the committee includes members from 6 independent subcommittees, which are in-service training, opening sessions, the Ruma Chowdhury Research Colloquium, faculty and staff excellence awards, the edit team, which is the educational development initiative team, and lastly, diversity and inclusion. I am the co-chair of the committee, along with Deborah Coddington. I always forget her entire name. Deborah Coddington. What's the last part? Oh, I'm sorry, Deborah McMillan Coddington. Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
And this is focused on faculty and staff, correct?
Yes, both faculty and staff.
Very good. All right, thank you, Derek. Where are we at? Budget and Finance Committee. Patricia, the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee.
The Budget and Finance Committee is the committee that reviews the budgets and discusses the situation of the school within the community, and then we can ask all kinds of questions we want to ask, and usually we report to the Senate. It's now, we've insisted that everything that's public in the budget is on the website. It's always been available on the website. Now it's in the president's update or the LaGuardia update that we get. If you scroll far enough at the bottom, you'll see the budget updates. And here are 2 members of the budget committee, Erica, Brett,
Hello.
member, and so is Roman Sankoff. We also have the VP of administration and the people from the budget office, because they're the ones who are doing the numbers. So we're happy to have them. And we don't need any members. We could use a student members and
Yeah. If
anyone's interested.
any of you students are interested in accounting or, finance, anything like that, this is a great committee to join because you get to see the reality of budgeting in a big organization like ours. So, and have some input in it. Okay, so let me know, or let Patricia know if you're interested. Thank you. Let's see, Committee on Elections. Patricia, there's no chair, but you all met her, right? Or you heard
Yeah.
from, this is who you.
I'm the one who sent all those emails, so we don't have members from this committee, but actually there are a few people who work on the elections, people from the IR. I have Imad Nassar who works in institutional research, who's the one who puts the election. And I also have Bettina Acosta, also from, I think she's IT, people who are IT, because they're the ones who have to send the email. And I also work with Gina from marketing and communication. So it's not a committee made of members of the Senate, but there are other members that work with us. And I think it's fine like that.
Yes, they're working well enough. So
I think so.
if you are a newly elected member of the Senate, would you give a round of applause to Patricia for running that?
With the committee on elections is that we do the work between the beginning of the September and now. So it's a crunch for 4 weeks and then we're done for the entire year. Unless we have other elections that come up, and otherwise we're done. Student elections are done, all the other divisional and at-large are all done. So
Very good. Thank you, Patricia. There is a transfer committee, neither chair of the transfer, there's two co-chairs of the transfer committee. The focus of the transfer committee as a committee of the Senate is really in instructing and supporting faculty in supporting transfer of students and in engaging on issues around transfer for students transferring out from LaGuardia. There's lots to deal with on students transferring in, but this transfer committee focuses on students transferring out. I don't know that they need members, but we'll find out. There is a committee called Food Insecurity, Justice and Community Need Committee, and I see Rebecca on Zoom. She has been a chair or co-chair of the committee. Are you able to tell us about the committee and its needs, Rebecca? Wait.
Hi. See, I'm
Oh,
showing LaGuardia. Yes, the Committee on Food Insecurity, which is what it used to be called, and now it's the Food Insecurity, Justice and Community Need Committee, as the members voted in, works on issues in food insecurity and housing for students and other needs that students have. We've been working closely with LaGuardia Cares to help raise funds for them and assist them with events. In recent years, the past 2 years, we supported the LaGuardia Humanitarian Initiative, where this was one of their key themes the past 2 years. And we've done a lot of work supporting them. And now we're going to get back to regular meetings this year. If you're interested in working on food insecurity and housing and other needs that students and the larger LaGuardia community has, you can join the committee. Watch for the meeting announcements, and I'd love to see you there.
thank you, Rebecca. Now there are several ad hoc committees. These are the permanent standing committees. An ad hoc committee is a committee that is more temporary until we decide to make it a standing committee. There's 4 of those. The IT Advisory Committee, and I don't think a co-chair is here, but they're working on issues around IT for faculty and staff and students. The History Committee is working to collect some history of LaGuardia before all of the people who know retire. The Online Learning Committee focuses on issues around online learning, offering online courses, HyFlex courses, and all of the issues around that. I believe that there is going to be a resolution coming to the Senate about emergency remote learning. If there's ever an emergency on the campus that requires us to go suddenly remote, we'll have a Senate is going to establish some policies around that. That's in the future. And then there is a Senate Assessment and Review Committee. Leslie, do you want to talk about that committee?
Sure. We need members. We have 2 charges. One is assessment and one is review of governance. So the assessment part emerged after the middle states review as a recommendation. And what we're trying to establish is how we know the Senate is successful. So students, you get grades, staff, faculty, you get evaluations. How do we evaluate the Senate? So our work is through the year, but we produce an ending report which shows our milestones. The review part looks at the governance plan and suggests any alterations, anything that we want to revise or to look at to become formal in the governance.
You'll learn more about the governance plan in our next meeting. It will come up again. Thank you, Leslie. And that is the end of the Senate committees. Let me mention briefly what is yet coming on the agenda. There will be a presentation from our parliamentarian about Robert's Rules, which is the protocol by which we conduct our meetings. There also will be a visit from President Adams. I just saw him arrive. He may be coming in about 5 minutes, which would be in the middle of your presentation. So let him come. We'll let him come. And
Let him speak.
So sounds good. So the other thing that we want to do today, before you break up into your constituency groups for students to talk with students, faculty to talk with faculty, before we do that, the other thing we want is to open it up to continuing or departing senators to offer advice for new senators. All right. So I'm mentioning it now so that you can have it in mind, right? Be thinking about what advice in fact, if you have any advice hold on just a minute. Now, Erica, how long do you have the motion?
15. You gave me 15 minutes,
I couldn't remember.
so I'll try to stick to that.
So let's do a little advice now, right? Because President Adams might be coming in about 3:15, that was the time I originally targeted. And then we can do the Robert's Rules presentation after that. But so if you have been a senator at all, what advice do you have for the new members of the Senate? Jeannie.
You want to go first? Now, I would just say, communicate with your constituents, maybe get on the agenda of your departmental meetings every month, make it a routine and expectation that you're going to be talking to them and that you are always there to listen to them, so they don't have to wait to the next department.
So make yourself known to your constituents that you as a senator represent them.
Yeah, and also help them understand what Senate does. I don't think enough people understand how important Senate is and what types of things they can bring to you.
Sounds good. So you have a role in educating your constituents about the value of Senate. Now, students, you can think about how you can do that. And there are some ways that you can try and take that on. Well, Erica.
If I may, hello, everyone. I'm Erica Correa. I'm the Senator for Adult and Continuing Education, otherwise known as ACE. Jeannie took the words right out of my mouth. Communication with your constituents is very important. And one of the ways I do that, because I don't have departmental meetings with ACE faculty and staff. So I send an email, a standard email to all of ACE to share with them actions that have been taken through the Senate, as well as provide any updates. So it's as simple as keeping it in communication via email. Thank you.
Sounds good. Leslie.
To paraphrase Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, you are the Senate. No matter what you do, think about, does this need to go through Senate? Or who reviewed this? Or where did this come from? Because at times things slip by the Senate and that's not fair. So things need to go through governance because all of us are here in this room, faculty, staff, and students. And so if you're on a subcommittee, if you hear a conversation, anything that you are listening to, think about, should the Senate be present here? Should the Senate know? Or what should the Senate do about this? And bringing things up is never wrong. We might not have anything to do with a particular issue, but it certainly doesn't hurt to open that up.
Yeah, great. And in that vein, you, as long as I'm the Senate chair, email me as much as you want. I am pretty good at managing my email. I have a system down, so, and I'm pretty good at responding usually. So email me. I didn't say this before, I'll say it now. If you need to miss a Senate meeting, email me. Right? It actually says in our governance plan, and I should have found this page. I haven't found this page. You can be recalled as a senator, right? You can be removed from Senate for absences, right? If you miss, I'm gonna go by memory, 2 in a row, and you're a senator and you haven't contacted the chair, you haven't, or the secretary, both of us, whoever is the chair, whoever's the secretary, that you can be removed as a senator. Now, we probably aren't gonna be quite that strict, or if it's been 3 months and you've missed more than half of Senate meetings without contacting the chair and the secretary to let us know what's going on, right? So that said, email me, right? And let me know if you need to miss, or if you're hearing something that you wonder if it should be talked about at Senate, if it shouldn't be talked about Senate. If you are thinking of trying out Senate secretary, email me. If you're considering trying being a vice chair, email me. If you are interested in joining the executive committee, email me and let me know. We can talk about it because you're very welcome, and I welcome you to contact me about any questions like that, or if anything comes up. Is there other advice that you have? Oh. I see that hand, Shannon. Yes.
So my piece of advice has to do with a little homework. You sent out emails with documents that we are going to discuss in the next meeting. My best piece of advice for you, read them so that in the meeting, you are not lost or confused, or if you have questions prior, you can either reach out to the Senate chair or at least have them prepared for the actual meeting. So it's not just the time, like every Wednesday at this time, there might be a little bit of homework you have to do prior to it. So I would suggest that for the new folks.
Yeah, thank you for that, Shannon. Good idea. Priyanka, do you anticipate curriculum for our meeting on the 23rd? Do you think there'll be any? Do you know? Okay, so we're meeting again in 2 weeks. There may not be any curriculum at that time. If there is, there will be a collection of attachments on the email that you get as an invitation to the members of Senate. In that collection, if there is curriculum, there'll be one document that is a summary sheet where Priyanka's put together every item and why it's there. Read that summary. And then look at because the details can be pages and pages and pages. You can absolutely look at the details, but the one that you want to understand is the summary, because when we meet as a Senate, we will do a roll call vote where everyone's name is called out and you say aye or no. Aye if you vote yes, no if you vote no. And so you should know what's there. We are not expected to understand it thoroughly. We're not expected to really evaluate whether this is a valid academic change for the college, right? It has already been evaluated by the curriculum committee, but we're there to review it and then to vote on it. So watch, if you see curriculum in the email, watch for that overview sheet because it will explain what's there and the rationale for it. President Adams has arrived. Remember your advice if you have more to say, because we're not done with this period, but we'll interrupt it and welcome President Adams, and then we'll do the Roberts Rules presentation after that. Welcome.
Hi, Christy.
What would you like to say to there are many new senators
Yeah,
here.
this is the Senate meeting where we have an overlap, right?
Yes, yes.
Where we have senators, and do we have senators who, after this meeting, will no longer be serving in the Senate? Only one? There must be a few others who maybe are not here.
They may
So I
not
came to
be
thank
here.
you for your service. General Counsel, aide, friend, colleague Maria Cook. No, thank you, Christy. Thanks to everybody. These transition meetings are a chance, as you might guess, for me to come by and seriously thank Maria and others who are rolling off the Senate, usually because they've served as senators for a while. Got other things to do, and we have elections and other people take their places. But as my role as president, it's important that I thank people for their service in the Senate. So thank you, Maria, and to others that that are coming off the Senate, and to those of you that are new, especially I suspect many of you from the SGA. Where's Rebecca Ramos?
She is not here. These are all new student senators. John is the SGA rep.
Oh, I thought Rebecca was gonna be here. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to people who are new, welcome and thank you. Super important to have, as I look around the room, lots of you have so many people engaged in the Senate, new faces, new people, keeps it energized. This is the core of shared governance at LaGuardia. Long-serving senators know that and have heard me say it before. We have a very important faculty group, the Faculty Council, chaired by John, or presided over by John Tolan from physics, who's right here. Both, I think most of you know this, but it's very important and very helpful to me that both John and Christy, John in his capacity as the president of the Faculty Council, our faculty group, and Christy as president of the Senate, are in our cabinet. We meet here in this room, around this table, every other Monday morning, and having their voices here from those respective governance bodies, not to mention lots about physics, plenty about English, the importance of having faculty in every discussion we have in the sort of administrative level of the college is really, really important. I just came from, so sorry I'm late, but we had once a month, we have a almost all day meeting at CUNY Central called COPS, or Council of Presidents. It's actually not a very good acronym because there are deans there too. All the deans of the graduate schools are there. It's the Council of Presidents of Deans, and the chancellor convenes this meeting usually on the first, maybe what's today, the second Thursday of the month. And sometimes it conflicts. Actually, it happens to conflict because it's Wednesday, so he picks that day, and it's often Senate. So I run here if I can get out. I got out in time. It's not always the case. But that meeting, we had a whole bunch of stuff on the agenda today, and a little lunch break. It was not very good. It's okay. But I was talking to another president about governance on their campus, and I'm interested in how other campuses operate with respect to an obligation to shared governance. And as you might guess, and you know this because we all have friends and colleagues at other campuses, 25 institutions or schools in CUNY, including the graduate schools, everybody has a different story around shared governance. There are not that many schools that have what we have, which is really shared in the sense that we have students, staff, and faculty. We have to cover, most senates are the core is faculty, and it's the domain of curriculum and program approval and anything around teaching and learning that's involves faculty, and so those are very powerful drivers of most Senate activities. But we make it more complicated. We open it up and have this tripartite, as your president likes to say, quite accurately, as tripartite Senate, the three parts being students, faculty, and staff. And again, you don't see that all across CUNY. I did come across an example of it today, but it's quite different. If you're familiar with Medgar Evers College in Crown Heights, it's led by a terrific president named Pat Ramsey, who is sort of new like me. I think I've been here a little longer. I've been here 4 years. She's maybe been there 2 or 3. And she told me that their Senate isn't really a Senate, it's a leadership body. And it is tripartite, but it's very limited in the number of people. So it's and everyone is elected, but there's a certain number of student seats and but it's not called a Senate. So from a governance, it's called, don't quote me, but the leadership committee or the something like that, right? A governance committee, but it's not a Senate. Senate's not in the word. So it's a different structure. I'm very proud of the structure we have at LaGuardia, because I think it enables us to have a lot of voices in the room on important issues, which makes the meetings long, sorry, cover a lot of ground, now Jill Kehoe, Professor Kehoe had been secretary for a long time. Who's the new secretary?
Donise.
Oh, Donise.
Donise is not here.
Just Jill in the back. Donise, are you subbing? I don't see you taking copious notes, are you? You don't have to, my stuff doesn't matter, I don't have a vote here. I just show up and say hi.
Having an official meeting.
Oh, okay.
There's no minutes for this meeting.
So
but you are
whoever,
being
for
recorded.
folks who are new, you will come to realize how important the secretary is. President, very important, but the Senate, right? And Donise, we thank her for taking on that role. Because the discussions can be long and complicated, and every voice, every idea, every suggestion has to be appropriately recorded for the record. It's a process that's democracy in action. It's a process that requires communication and trust and respectful dialogue. Sometimes I've sat in the room sometimes in that chair where Maria is, like just as a witness, and seen some interesting discussions that get a little tense, a little heated, right? But here at LaGuardia, what we always see is at the end, people are respectful. We can agree to disagree about a proposed policy. It's never to be taken personally, right? Someone can have an idea, someone can have care deeply about something, they can be passionate about it. It should never be taken that passion is like anger, or personal, direct. I mean, we're always doing this to move towards the goals that we share around the success of our students and the success of the institution. Sometimes the path to getting to those goals gets us into some interesting discussions. And that's all good, as long as we have those discussions in an environment of mutual trust and respect and care. At the end of the day, the care that we embrace for the whole institution. And, I always see that. It makes me very proud, not just of what we do, but how we do it, right? How we talk about these issues and what we get done. So this is for new people who are new, this is a productive Senate body. I think you know already because you have the schedule. It's a lot of meetings. Thank you in advance. It's a commitment of time. And again, to those who've been serving or stepping off, thank you. And to those who are coming on board, we welcome you and we're grateful to your service. I see that, President's office, and Patricia Sikowski reminded me of this, is supposed to elect someone to represent the president's office. And we have, through a very democratic process, with 31 potential electors. It's gonna sound like the electoral college event. 26 cast ballots in favor of Amy Calandria, who's a square, she's a person on that. Thank you, Amy, for running for office, which represented the re-election of Senator Calandria, which we did. You could almost, so it was out of 31, 26 yeas. I have to send you an email, Patricia, to memorialize that. You wrote that one down? Great. Oh, the alternate is right here. Helen Skirchak. Same thing. It was a ballot. We didn't have a lot of candidates. You don't need to know all the details. Helen ran unopposed and it was,
So
we
Helen
did
was
electronic ballot.
unanimous.
We used a whole big thing. It was great. Okay, I know it's the first time we ever did it. We're not very good at it, but we Helen and Amy are, just so you all know, one senator and then Helen is called an alternate, right?
Right.
Representing the president's office. So we took care of that. I want to, the leadership of the
Thank
Senate, I wanted to report that in. I don't know about the 5 people. They were abstentions. I think the record could show neither Helen nor Amy received a negative vote. What on about? Abstain. Yes, that's what it means if you don't vote. You abstain. It's like people who don't vote, which is not very democratic. Honestly, I'm going to find out who those 5 people are, which isn't very democratic. Not very democratic of me, but they didn't vote. I actually thought our level of participation based on American politics today, 26 out of 31, not bad.
Pretty good.
That's great.
Pretty
Thank you
good.
so much for doing all this and for being on it.
No, you all know, Patricia knows. And when I first arrived at LaGuardia about 4 years ago, Patricia was still helping to lead all this work. And that was during COVID and we weren't sitting around the table like this. It was complicated. And she did a marvelous job, so.
Yeah, Patricia's a past Senate chair.
Past Senate chair.
Before I became Senate chair, yeah. So,
The students are saying, wow, what did we sign up for? This is democracy in action. Oh, yeah.
it is, it's a little tedious.
No, it's really good. Thank you very much, all of you. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Any
Right, Kristen?
questions or comments for President Adams? There'll be opportunities in the future to have her back and ask more substantive questions about issues, but I think Patricia has a question.
Yeah, I just have a question about, especially because you talked about the commitment of time. And I think that for staff, the commitment of time is difficult and if I can speak for the Senate and what we've been trying to do is to make sure that the commitment of staff is recognized at the level that their commitments are, that for that afternoon and the work that they may have taken on be recognized as work that they're doing and not just like in the effort or something. You take it upon yourself to judge the work.
Let me, that's a great point. Thank you, Patricia. So let me say 2 things. If anybody, and here I'm really referring to staff, feels like their manager, I hope this isn't the case, but I need to say it, is not fully supportive of your service in Senate, let me know. If you feel that your manager's like, why you spend so much time in Senate, or you just don't feel full support for your participation, let me know, okay? Because I will, emphasize the fact that I think your service is very important and we're grateful to you for it. And then at a higher level, yeah, that's on me. Let me think, Patricia, about what I can do to make sure people, again, managers of staff, supervisors recognize the service, not just, say, oh, that's okay, like let you have the time, but that they understand how valuable it is. It's time well spent for the overall, to strengthen the institution of shared governance of LaGuardia, which is fundamental to our institution. It's fundamental. It's like a basic thing. So it's really important for the health of the institution. And to the extent that I can emphasize that so that managers will express their gratitude, right? And maybe put something, performance, whatever it is, like note to file, so and so, it's a good thing, right? It needs to be recognized. I think you're right. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for President Adams?
I'll be back on the 13th and the 4th, right? 13th is,
Oh, yeah, November 13th.
she's like
December
nervous that I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Wait, 13th, we are meeting on November 13th?
November 3rd, the
Great.
3rd November, I know this October still, but November 13th, I'll be here to give you an update on the strategic plan and to get your responses to where we are with the 5 pillars of student success that we're driving towards in the planning process. It's a good way to get very practical input, again, from students, faculty and staff, Senate members. And then there'll be this open house on November 22nd. So, 9 days later, big Friday event with donuts and coffee and more work on the plan. And then I'll come back, I think it's December 4th, to that meeting to tell you where we are. So you'll see me twice. There'll be other occasions when your leader thinks it's appropriate just to do the Q&A thing. Hey, let's get Kenneth in here and ask the president. But an event, I always like that. It's open mic night. You get to tell me stuff. What do I need to know? What do I not know? Ask me questions. So we'll find some time for that as well. Not a member of the Senate. I don't have a vote. But she's nice enough to invite me in so I can participate.
Ex officio member.
Well,
of the Senate. Just a non-voting member. It doesn't get to vote, but it's still a member of the Senate.
Okay,
So
I'm a
you're
member.
welcome anytime. You don't need an invitation.
My name's on the letterhead, but
Yeah.
but with an asterisk next to it, ex officio.
Right.
And I always ask that, Maria, what does that mean? But I don't even know what it means. It's Latin. It's a legal thing.
Means no vote.
Yeah, no vote. So, but I'd love to show up anyway, because it really is a great, well, selfishly, I'll say, is where I learned a lot from all of you about the things you want me to care about. Right? Great.
Thank you very much.
Members could have votes if it had been decided that way. Ex officio means that they are by virtue of your position.
Of the position.
Some ex officio members in some committees do have votes. It's not one excuse.
I kind of like not having a vote. And I don't get caught up. I go, yeah, you're right. You're right. Christie, figure.
All right, thank you, Kenneth.
Have a great afternoon.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Any more advice for senators before we turn it over? Yes, Jean?
So, for faculty, I find it helpful to talk to your curriculum committee rep, because they can give you the history of their discussion and put the vote into context so that you know what you're voting for.
So that's a really good suggestion for faculty, because there is a member of your department who is on the curriculum committee, who is part of the discussion and the work of the curriculum committee. So it's a great way to get perspective on what's coming before Senate for a vote. Thank you for that suggestion. Any other advice? Yes, Jill.
Ask questions. Sometimes we speak in a different language here, and you are not expected to know what you're talking about. I came on to Senate as a new faculty member and I had no idea what was going on. I had no clue what you guys are talking about. So please ask. I'd rather have you ask questions than vote on things that you don't understand. But there is no expectation that you know these things coming in.
Yeah.
So please.
Yep, absolutely. Maria.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria Cook. I'm the executive counsel to the president.
That means she's the lawyer.
I was getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
Community has like really long titles. So, I've been on the Senate since I've been here, which at this point has been 8 years. And I will say that it is I am going to miss it, not being here, because I really do like being on Senate. And it is one of the places that you can really take a pulse of the campus at, because all of the senators, the alternates, even people who just pop in, they pop in and they come here and they really are honest about what is going on in the other areas, in the spaces around the college and what their concerns are. So it's a great place to learn what really matters elsewhere. So students, you will hear chatter. Even if you didn't speak to anybody else, you're going to hear complaints. Bring them back. It's a safe space. This is where you talk, this is where you discuss it, this is how you figure it out. And the beauty about Senate, my advice is enjoy your time on Senate, because you will find no other body in this institution that will give you access to what you have in this room. We are everywhere, literally every department, like whether it be if you have an issue, bring it to Senate, meaning a personal issue. This is always my little kid. That's why this is advice. So bring it to Senate, because you will find somebody here that can help you specifically, in addition to somebody else that is going through your constituents, that's going through a similar issue, if not the same. So there is no other place to be, and the cookies are occasionally not stale.
And also cookies. Thank you.
Cookies are stale.
Are they stale? Positive today.
Exactly, today, just today.
They're not the best cookies, but I haven't had them. today. Any other advice for new members of Senate? Okay. Two more things then. So we're gonna hear about Robert's Rules. It's an introduction to all of you new senators about meeting protocol. And then I'm gonna ask you, and then I'll adjourn the meeting, and I'll ask you to get together with your constituency and have a first conversation with your constituency, faculty, staff, and students. So I'm gonna turn it over to our parliamentarian.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are we awake?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm Erica Correa. I'm, as I mentioned before, the ACE Senate representative, as well as the Senate registered parliamentarian. I'm registered with the National Association for Parliamentarians. And a lot of information not a lot, but most of the information that I have on my slide was covered already. So I may just fast forward a little bit or just emphasize certain points.
And then let's make sure that those at home can see this once you share.
Yes, so I will test.
Okay.
Our Zoom attendees,
Oh, yeah.
can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Thank you for the thumbs up.
You're gonna do a slideshow and I'm gonna just close.
I'm trying to get to, it's not. Let me stop. Yeah, let's not do that. Appreciate your patience.
Yeah. Where's that? There we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks good. Can you all at home see it? You should. Okay.
Derek, can you give me
No,
a verbal?
it does not show
It's,
now.
it's not up on on the screen now.
So whatever it did this time did not work.
Oh, you know why? Because I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So I'm going to share now. You would think I would be perfect at this since I teach. How about now?
It's sharing now. Yeah, it's up.
Great.
Yeah, they can see. Okay, I'll just, as long as you can see, that's what counts. So for the purpose of time, I'm just going to provide the general meeting basics and provide an overview of Robert's Rules of Order and how we get things done here at LaGuardia. How many of you have heard of Robert? Or Robert's Rules? One, who has not? Okay, so I know you'll learn a little something today. First, we'll cover some foundational concepts. What is Robert's Rule of Order? It's a book of parliamentary procedure, and it's named after Colonel Henry Martin Robert, who is pictured on the screen. This is the current version of Robert's Rules of Order, the 12th edition. So that's what we parliamentarians in the room, I'm not the only one. We use this book to provide guidance in our meetings. It was first published in 1876 and just simply provides a framework and an effective way to communicate among groups, keeping our meetings in order and letting everyone have their say so that you have a voice. Most importantly, when our bylaws or Senate governance does not speak to a particular rule, we refer to Roberts to provide guidance on how to carry out certain actions in this assembly. Some of the foundations, my favorite of Robert's Rule of Order is integrity. Integrity ensures transparency in our decision-making process. Also, equality, giving all of you a voice to have your say and to share what your constituents bring to you in terms of concerns and important matters. Respect to foster courteous debate and discussion when we have motions, and I'll talk about that a little later. And most of all, fairness by applying the rules consistently to maintain order and justice in our meetings. Now, there are 4 governing documents in ranking order, as you see before you. The first one is called the Open Meetings Law, otherwise known as OML. And that law is an actual New York State law, and it allows the public to attend public bodies. So this technically, even though we're at an institution, we are a public body, which is why we invite outside community members into our meetings, and we videotape to provide on our website so that the public can view our meetings and decision-making process. OML is the law, New York State law. Robert's Rules is not. Okay. Then we have our CUNY bylaws. Now, CUNY bylaws is our highest source of policy in CUNY, and it's created by our CUNY Board of Trustees. Okay, they can create and amend our CUNY bylaws. So we have to follow what's in our bylaws first. The last 2 documents are our College Senate Governance Plan, the 2009 version. And the Senate has actually created an updated version of our governance plan. It's dated for year 2022.
It's not yet official.
It's not official, that's what I was going to say.
Dated 2024.
2024. But I wanted to share with the body and the membership that we did revise the plan. It's currently sitting with the CUNY Board of Trustees. So once,
No,
no.
you're currently sitting with me.
Oh, it's with you now.
Oh, so, yeah.
I see the document has moved since.
We approved most of it,
Uh-huh.
gave it to President Adams, who approved it also. We have one piece that's not quite, that's almost finished. And that piece is for final revisions, next meeting, I'm gonna tell you about it. Then it will go to President Adams, and President Adams' office, I believe, will send it to the CUNY Board of Trustees for their approval.
So it's not yet in their hands.
No, not quite, but I'm gonna point out one other little discrepancy that faculty of CUNY are determined that the CUNY bylaws will be overridden by an individual campus governance plan if it has been approved by the board of trustees.
Interesting.
So the bylaws, there may be some debate about that, but there are a couple of statements in the CUNY bylaws that say if the CUNY board of trustees approves a college governance plan, that governance plan takes precedence over the bylaws. Yes, Maria.
She is absolutely right, and I didn't want to say that, but, it's the statement in the CUNY bylaws says any, in any governance plan that has been, I forget the exact term, but adopted, by college governance will supersede the bylaws.
Really?
Yes.
Well, this is news to me too.
So if there is something that is in conflict with, so let's say the president can vote. I'm just throwing out an example. So under the CUNY bylaws, it says the president can't be a voting member, right? And under the governance plan that the college adopts, it says the president is. The president is a voting member. It
Governance plan
supersedes.
supersedes. Mhm.
It's,
Yes.
Yeah,
The
but
language in the bylaw is only occurs for Articles 8 and 9. And it says if the language in the bylaws is vague and the governance plan will supersede it. But yeah, so it's only for 2 articles in the bylaws, 8 and 9.
but it
That's written
is,
underneath.
it is interpreted to refer to
When
all
it's
of
in
them.
conflict, absolutely, when it's in conflict, when you have the 2 documents and they are in conflict with each other, meaning one says something or is silent, or the other proposes something and is silent, whatever the college governance, the adopted college governance plan is, supersedes what happens with the bylaws.
Patricia,
Yes, quickly, the articles that are in question, and Thomas's, the articles where really it's leaving to the institutions the possibility to organize themselves the way they want, because CUNY is a big institution, but colleges have their own culture and their own way of doing. Is for the P&B and the departmental organization. That's where really CUNY bylaws say, the board of trustees says, if you want to be organized like that, if that's the way you want to organize your committees for reappointment and for departmental organization, as long as it's been voted on and we approved it, that's what goes, not what's in it.
we're gonna pause this conversation and I will invite in just a moment, but let me just say, this is an instance of the power that the Senate has, right? And it sounds tedious. You all, especially you students, may not have really any idea what we're talking about, but who has the power here, right? Does the CUNY chancellor say, this is what all the CUNY schools are going to do? Or do the CUNY schools get to make decisions for themselves? And this is what matters. And this is why there are helpful people like Thomas and Patricia and Maria who study these things and know what's there and can say, wait a minute, you shouldn't do that, right? Because of this, right? So it's part of the power that the Senate has.
So
Go ahead.
thank you for that
Yes.
bit of information, Maria. So I encourage you all to view our current governance plan. It's a document specifically for LaGuardia and outlines our processes and structures as the Senate, as well as gives the charge for each committee and the work that is to be done. So thank you for that. I will share the PowerPoint slide after the meeting, so you can click on, these are hyperlinked, so you'll be able to click on the links and it will guide you to the actual documents. And last but not least, Robert's Rules of Order, which simply provides a standard for facilitating discussions and group decision making.
Can you get an arrow key? Will it help?
Eric, is your hyperlink to Robert's rules? That's
It's the link that on the website.
Our website.
No, the Roberts rules has. a-
That's actually, that's the first version. That's what's in the public domain, so that's not the 12th edition.
Okay.
So don't. That too.
Yeah, anybody wanna lend a hand? I don't even know. You lost your blinkers.
We're experiencing technical difficulties.
Sorry about this, everybody.
Okay. Yay. We have the magic touch. Thank you. It's the finger that
Fingertips. Tools got the best.
Okay. Now, our standard order of business. I will cover that next, but first I want to mention our key officers. The meeting must always have a presiding officer and a secretary according to Robert's rules. And as you know by now, our presiding officer, otherwise referred to as chair or Madam Chair, is Christy Bruns. Let's give her a round of applause.
Oh, come on.
She is the boss of us, okay? Just joking, but she facilitates our meetings. And we have our secretary, who is currently Jill Keogh.
Nope, Donnie's, who's not here,
Denise, excuse me,
currently.
Denise,
Jill's
you'll
supporting.
meet her at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And our chair just announces our business that is to come before the membership and keeps order during the meetings. And our secretary will keep a roll call and attendance of everyone present and keeps a written record of our actions in our meeting. Okay, she records primarily what we do, not exactly everything that is said. And that record is called or referred to as the minutes, okay? This is a sample of the meeting agenda, which has a call to order, roll call, approval of the agenda, so on and so forth. I will go through those areas in a second. Our call to order is the first thing on the agenda. And that's when our chair calls the meeting to order and takes a roll call. And most of all, her job is to ensure that there is a quorum. Everyone knows what a quorum is because our chair explained it earlier. But I'll just recap. Our quorum requires a minimum number of members who must be present at the meetings for business to be officially conducted. And it's a majority of the entire membership. Majority equals more than half. So it's important that you all are present. And if you're unable to attend the meeting, you want to speak with your alternate to ensure that they are here and present to do the business of the assembly. And if there's no quorum, guess what? We can't do business. We can only maybe provide some information, but that's it. So when I say conduct business, I strictly mean make motions. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Again, the approval of the agenda and minutes, that's usually the first two pieces of items that we cover at the beginning of a Senate meeting. The agenda is again just a roadmap of what we will cover during the meeting. And our minutes are an official record of what was done. And as I think, who mentioned it earlier and gave the suggestion to read, I think it was Shannon. He encouraged and provided advice to please read the minutes and the documents that come before you via email. The minutes will be sent to you before the meeting, and that's your time to ensure that your name is listed in attendance, and you want to document anything, any discrepancies or any changes that needs to be made before the meeting, so you can raise it at the meeting, okay? Read. We also have on the agenda our chair's report and committee reports. And of course, our chair, Madam Chair, provides her report on general information to the Senate and provides recommendations for actions to be taken by this body. Some of the recommendations include Senate votes, like on the curriculum, which is, we do quite frequently. Committee reports are shared by the chairs on updates that work is being done in the committee. You do have to, our chairs do have to send a written report to our chair. And for the purposes during the meeting, you don't always have to speak to present the information. You can say that there's no report or the report is on file. But just know you're not required to speak every meeting to let your colleagues know the work you're doing in the committees. Additional agenda items are unfinished business, which is business carried over from the previous meeting. And we discuss new business, which are matters that have never been brought before the membership. Announcements are made during the meeting, which is news or information that may be of interest to all of you. And then we adjourn the meeting. Now, let's talk about how we make decisions in this body. Decisions are made through what's called a motion. Everyone heard the song, I second that emotion? Okay, I'm showing my age now. But yes, it's a motion, which means that business is brought before the assembly. So that's how you bring your issues or raise issues or topics before this body, through a motion. All motions must be seconded. So that means if someone raises a motion, anyone can second. So you would say, I second that motion. Okay? Know that if you do second a motion, I'm still singing the song in my head. If you second, it does not mean that you agree with the motion. It simply means you would like the motion to move forward so that there can be discussion and debate on the motion. Is everyone clear about that? So, and in rare cases, I don't think this ever happened here in Senate. I don't think we've ever not had a second.
Yes, we have.
We have? I must not have been here for that.
I don't remember.
But in the rare cases where a senator raises a motion or presents a motion and it does not receive a second, that motion fails. That means no one was interested in having discussion or debate. Okay. Also, senators, you have equal rights to voice your concern and make a motion. And just know, one senator can speak at a time, and one main motion will be placed on the floor at a time. So, for example, you might say, the incorrect way to do a motion is, I think we should move our Senate meetings to Thursdays instead of Wednesdays. Or, I move that we don't. That's not a proper way to bring forth a motion. What you can do, the correct way, is saying, I move that we have Senate meetings on Thursdays instead of Wednesdays. So it's just a simple example. Okay, always remain in the positive voice, not negative voice. Now let's review the steps to making a motion. First, you must obtain the floor to be recognized by our Madam Chair. You can do that by a simple raising of your hand. Once you make the motion, someone will then second it to say, show a sign to say that we'd like to hear the motion that was made by the senator. Once the motion is seconded, a chair then restates the motion. Once our Madam Chair restates the motion for the purposes of our secretary, senators then may discuss and debate the motion. Okay, that's when a lot of discussion occurs. Senators show their passion for the topic that has been raised. And I do want to share some tips regarding debates. Debate should remain germane, which means it needs to be relevant to the motion that was made. So try to stay on topic when you're sharing your concern and voicing your opinion. Also, Robert's Rule of Order typically allows up to 10 minutes for a person to speak their piece on a motion. But we're not as strict in this body. We try to have a courtesy of 2 minutes to speak and try not to take up more time than that, but we're not as strict. Also, all remarks that you make, whether in favor of the motion or against the motion, should be made directly to our Madam Chair. Please do not direct your response to the person who made the motion, okay? Also refrain from any personal attacks or questions of other senators' viewpoints. We all are respectful in this space. It's a safe space, and we all are open to hearing each other's opinion on certain matters. There are often times where we're very passionate about a topic, and there may be one person who's against the motion. If you are, that's okay. You have a right to speak your piece on issues concerning college policy and concerning you as students, okay? But once the debate or discussion is finished, our chair will close the discussion, and that's when she will call for a vote on the motion. If you agree with the motion, you will speak by saying aye, which is in the affirmative, which means you agree. If you do not agree with the motion, you can say no, plain and simple. Now, as President Adams said, you do have a duty to make a decision and vote on motions that are brought forth in this body. However, we cannot force you to vote on an issue. So if you're not quite sure in which direction to go, you can actually abstain, which means you're not taking a vote. And in those cases, you would simply say when your name is called, present. Present means, for the record and our secretary, that you were physically present for the vote and chose not to participate. Any questions about that? But I strongly encourage you to make a decision for your constituents to either say yes or aye in the affirmative or no. Sounds good? Okay. Once the votes are tabulated by our secretary, our Madam Chair announces the results of the motion to say the motion either passed or failed, and she will provide that number. Any questions about that? Okay. Our senators' rights and expectations, our Madam Chair has already provided a document to you, but these are the ones I wanted to specifically point out that's listed in Robert's Rules of Order. Know that all senators, you all have an equal rights, privileges, and obligations. Everyone has the right to be heard, and your voice is heard when we vote and conduct motions. You have a right to attend our meetings, to make motions, speak, and vote, and to know what the pending question is. The pending question is simply the motion on the floor, okay? And you're ready to vote on it. You have a right to have the motion restated, and then a roll call is taken. So please, I'll just say in general, you have a right to nominate, to suggest who you would like to see run for an office. You have a right to vote, but you can abstain. And you have a right to hold office. So I hope all of you will, at some point, you've stepped up to become a senator. So I hope you also step up in roles within the committee. I see some smiling faces there. The expectations and roles, attend and remain. These are the ones I'm stressing. To attend and remain until the end of the meeting. Why is that important? Because we need to have a what? Quorum. Okay. Read and understand the organization's governing documents, which is currently our 2009 governance plan. Maintain courtesy during discussion and debates and only address the chair and understand how to make motions. Sometimes it takes a little while. I'm still learning myself as parliamentarian, okay? I will be happy to share in the upcoming meeting some guidance so that you can keep in front of you to assist you with making motions. Also, bring any concerns to the constituency. As Maria shared earlier, it's important to do. And most importantly, participate on committees. It's where the bulk of the work is done. And I'm saying that because I myself sit on 3 committees. One committee, I'm forced to by our governance plan. It says that an ACE representative must sit on the committee of staff and faculty. However, the other 2, I graciously volunteered my time. Okay, I sit on the Senate Budget Committee as well as the Committee for Faculty and Staff and Academic Standing Committees. And in closing, I want to say your role as a senator is crucial in maintaining the integrity of our meeting process. Whether it's raising a motion, debating on an issue, or simply casting your vote, each of you plays an important part in shaping the outcomes of our meetings. Understanding parliamentary procedure, however, is key to ensuring our Senate meetings run smoothly, efficiently, and democratically. Always feel free to ask questions if you do not understand something or need more information, okay? And I thank you for your time. Any questions? None?
I had one actually.
Yes.
I don't know if you covered it, but there was something that I think when I was an alternate once I got in trouble about for not really understanding.
You don't get in trouble here.
Could you maybe talk about the differences between when in the conversation, there's dedicated conversation for a motion and dedicated conversation against a motion?
Dedicated, you
Right,
mean
right, where there's cause I remember that part of it, there seemed to be like now's the time to talk for. So then someone wanted to say something against something right away, and then it was like, we're not talking against it yet.
I haven't
Does that make sense?
experienced that before, John.
It was like once, 2 years ago.
What I know of more is that if you are speaking about a motion, you identify if you're speaking for the motion or against.
Maybe
the
that's
motion.
But would like to say, Chrissy, that's not a requirement. It's like a courtesy that I noticed we've done, or it's practice in our Senate meetings. I don't know if Leslie has anything specific to say or to speak to that.
To John's
To Robert rules with regards to, it's
To
not being a
identify-
requirement to say
If you're
during
speaking-
discussion that I am against or for the motion before stating the rationale.
It is stated in the rules that you should identify, that keeps on topic and germane.
Yes, that, but not necessarily which direction.
You should, because the only reason you're speaking is to present with them.
Transparency and clarity, yeah. So like I said, it's a practice.
And John, what you're talking about is formality.
Oh, okay, I just remember being confused about it, I thought maybe it would help someone else or be.
It's helpful, so that way we understand the senator's point of view when they're providing information or their feedback.
Thomas.
Yes,
I
Thomas.
forgot, so alternate senators can't bring up motion, they can only discuss it.
Alternates can raise motions if they're sitting in and the senator is not here.
Right.
So alternates can, even if, let's give this example. If a senator and alternate, which you're entitled to do, come to a meeting together, the senator can only make any motions or vote. The alternate you should work together and discuss before the motion is made by the senator. But
But the,
alternate can only vote and make motions if the senator is not present.
but the alternate could speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alternate could speak. Jeannie?
Jeannie.
I wonder if you could clarify, it just seems to me in the past, people were confused when it was okay to discuss a motion. We start discussing it before motions on the floor, blah, blah. So could you just review?
Yeah, once it is seconded, and our chair restates the motion, she will guide us on when debate begins.
Yeah.
And discussion
So we can't discuss something until there's a motion on the floor.
on the floor.
Which I'm learning too. Erica, thank you so
That's it.
much.
Thank you.
Great. So, let me say two things. One, I'm terrible at remembering Robert's rules, which is why I rely on our parliamentarian. We have the benefit of having two parliamentarians in attendance. Leslie is also a parliamentarian, but the official parliamentarian of the Senate now is Erica. So we get a lot of input, and I need it because I just decided not to even try to remember, but just to look to them for guidance on those issues. So don't worry about not remembering what you need to do. The last thing I'll say before I adjourn this part of the main part of the meeting is you will notice that I use first names a lot. I like informality, but that's not the main reason. I will call you by first name because I can't remember your last name. It is too much for me to manage to learn your last name too. So, and I'm not just gonna learn your last name because then I'd have to call you Senator or whatever if I see you on the street outside. So I'm gonna learn your first name but yeah, it does mean that our Senate is a little more informal. I invite you to call me by first name as well, because I'm going to call you by first name.
And we will try to have the name.
Yes. We have little
is it
name
called?
placards for the
table.
and we need to get those updated for the new senators. So that's one of the projects for the next 2 weeks. Are there any questions before I adjourn this main portion of the meeting? Thank you for your attendance. I would ask you to stay. And if many student senators are sitting here, so if student senators could gather around this part of the table, faculty senators and staff senators, also, I'd like you to gather and have a short meeting. If possible, I know faculty senators, if we can possibly identify a chair, this would be great. Student senators, if you can identify a chair and elect a chair for your committee. If you can't do it today, talk about it, talk about what kind of roles people might want to try for. We need to get a chair. What was that? And students need a secretary? Okay, and so these committees also should take notes. So a student secretary for the committee of students to take notes on the meetings would be also great. And how about faculty? We'll turn the lights on up here. Faculty can meet up here and staff eat back there. But this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you again on the 23rd. Thank you for being here.
I just don't want to.
Bye, everybody.